From the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign and Illinois Public Media, welcome back to Weather Realness, a weekly podcast about the science behind weather and climate in Illinois. I'm your host, Steve Nesbitt, head of the Department of Climate Meteorology and Atmospheric Sciences at the University of Illinois.
And I'm Jeff Frame, professor in the Department of Climate, Meteorology, and Atmospheric Sciences at the University of Illinois. And we are continuing the conversation on football and extreme weather.
As a kid in the Midwest, the best two words when you wake up on a school day, snow day. Best two words in college football, rivalry game. We get both on the same day today for the Land of Lincoln Trophy. It's the Illini and the Wildcats for the right to wear the hat as we welcome you into Champaign, blustery conditions.
Talk about the logistics of getting the Illini onto the field for a recent game against Northwestern. We're joined by Facilities Coordinator of the University of Illinois Athletic Department, Joe Keith, who was in charge of all snow removal in Memorial Stadium for the game. Welcome, Joe.
Thank you.
So the UFI Athletic Department commented that moving the Illini Northwestern game was not considered or discussed. With this in mind, Joe, can you walk us through the process of getting the field ready for the game, for when you heard the weather forecast and when the game started?
Yeah, so we basically, Tuesday before the game, we had a Zoom call on, we knew weather was coming, but the National Weather Service couldn't really dial in exactly what we were looking at for kickoff time, which was 6:30. We knew it was going to be snow, but possibly rain. And obviously I'd take rain because it's a lot easier to manage. But with it being Thanksgiving weekend, we really had not a lot of staff going to be on site Thursday and Friday. So we were just kept looking at it. And then Friday, we had the band had fallen further south. So we knew we were going to get substantial snow. And with the wind, it was going to be an issue because Memorial Stadium is windy anyway. And you throw in 30-mile-an-hour winds, you're going to have some issues. So basically, Saturday morning, we had the National Weather Service give us an hourly breakdown, and it looked like the heaviest bands of snow would come between 3 and 7 o'clock, which before the game, it started snowing, I think, about 8:30.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, so what we did was immediately just started clearing the field, just trying not to have 9 inches of snow out there and then decide to clear it. So it was an ongoing process all day long. We had 2 plows, which, just 4-foot blade with a rubber bottom, because you cannot just take anything out onto the field or you'll tear the field up. So basically what the Big Ten standard is you have to have the boundaries, the hash marks, and every 5 yards, you need to try to clear those as much as possible. So it was basically from 8:30 to probably 4 before the teams are allowed to get out on the field, to try to clear as much as we could. And Mother Nature's a beast. She's undefeated, and we tried and tried and tried, but the snow was coming down so fast. You could clear. It's 53 yards wide, the football field. You could go across and come back and it was covered. So it was a monumental task to get that much snow off of the field. But we did have a pretty good plan. And I think the plan, it worked pretty well.
Not your average pregame show, folks. We are live from Gies Memorial Stadium. We're usually down on the field. You can probably see why we're not down on the field. Maybe you could have already guessed that. We're trying to stay out of the wind and snow and everything else and cold as best we can.
When we walked in, I don't know what, 20 minutes ago, the field was getting cleared, and it seems like it's an uphill battle trying to clear this field because the snow is falling hard. It's kind of.
And how about the logistics of getting the fans into the stadium and ultimately into their seats?
They brought in extra people. And Tom Moreland did a DIA call from 1 to 4 to have, hey, just come on in, help out as much as you can, bring your shovel. So it was basically a department-wide they started clearing the west stands, but at about noon they decided that was not gonna be feasible with the wind blowing so hard into the west stands. So they closed the west stands, and then basically did a general admission on the east side. And for about 5 hours, they cleared the stands and basically pushed it all basically down to the wall. There was still plenty of snow in there, but I think that was you looked at the fans in there. I think they kind of enjoyed having a game like that.
I talked to some of my friends who were there. Unfortunately, I'm a season ticket holder, but I was out of town visiting family for Thanksgiving. And yeah, a couple of my friends said that he'll remember that game for a very long time and wasn't going to miss it for the world. And, looking at the stadium, the side that was open was very full on TV. So would you estimate maybe it was a third full overall, the stadium?
I'm not sure. I would say 15,000 total, maybe 10, something like that. I mean, you got suites and stuff like that too. Everybody's inside, but
Right.
I know they basically cleared all the portals. You've been into the stadium, you've got the towers, you got to walk up and you got to salt all that. Because it's an open air stadium. So, I mean, you can get elements inside and it can be dangerous. So they definitely salted everything. And it was along the West Drive. It was tough to keep that clear because with the wind blowing right up against the stadium, it was just, I thought the snow was supposed to be heavy, but it drifted pretty good.
Right, yeah. And in terms of the attendance, obviously a lot of the students were out of town for Thanksgiving break, and some of the fans like me were too. But on top of that, that one friend of mine, he was planning on tailgating for the game and asked me, are you going to be back early because of the bad weather? And I said, well, no, it looks better to drive back Sunday than to drive back Saturday. And he was planning on tailgating with some friends, but none of them were able to make it into Champaign, Urbana from places like Springfield or Chicago. They just didn't want to chance the roads with everything going on there and the snow starting, pretty early, 8 or 8:30 in the morning.
Yeah. I did see when I got in at 5:30, there was actually some people in lot E14 tailgating. So, they were pretty diehard, but they definitely got here early because once the storm hit, a lot of people really couldn't get out and move around.
5:30 a.m. for a 6 p.m. game. That's a long tailgate.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then also in terms of the concessions, obviously probably some of those people were either out of town or couldn't get in. So were there plans just for reduced concessions if it was a normal game, or given the reduced attendance that you were probably able to forecast, just open up the concessions on the one side of the stadium and go with that?
Yeah, once they closed the east side down and the horseshoe down, the concession staff definitely moved to the west side so they could have full concessions on that side.
Yeah, so I happen to be from Buffalo, so this is not a strange
That was
situation
just a dusting.
to me. Yeah, this was a get started, but it really
Yeah.
talks about the monumental public safety issue that this can be, because you've got so many people converging, and obviously the fans want to revel in the game, but certainly they can be exposed to the elements. And fortunately it wasn't too cold. But can you remember in your time here whether there was anything impactful in football or any other sport at this magnitude?
We played Iowa, I want to say 5, 6 years ago. It snowed pretty heavily on a Thursday. And, you have 48 hours until the game. So there was quite a bit of snow in the stands. And we all, again, DIA as a department, everybody got on board and had to clear the stadium, the stands. And by Saturday, it looked fine. It was interesting because typical Illinois, you get 6 inches of snow on Thursday, and it was like 45 degrees at kickoff. So we shoveled all that snow, and a lot of it melted by the time the game came.
Yeah, one thing they do in Buffalo is they'll often do a community call where people will come to the stadium, and they'll maybe the organization will have some food trucks or something there to sort of reward the fans. And so I wonder if we can get some Illini faithful to come help out in case it needed to clear out the whole stadium.
Yeah, I think they did. I know they offered food, um, and hot chocolate. Bring your shovel, bring your family, and you can free admission to the game.
Yeah.
So they did do that. And I've actually seen in the NFL games, especially Buffalo and in Pittsburgh too, a lot of places where they get that lake effect, you can tell the fans actually enjoy going out there it looks like they're having a good time clearing the snow.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. In some of the extreme cases, they've had to move games, like they've had to move a Buffalo game to Detroit. And then something we fortunately don't have to deal with here, some of the Southern California teams, LA, or when the Chargers were in San Diego, I think they moved one or two of those to either Phoenix or San Francisco or something like that, because they were actually using the NFL stadiums as evacuation centers for the people. Now, obviously, we're never going to have to do anything like that here in the winter with an outdoor facility, but it's interesting to think about that.
Yeah, I mean, well, you would think too, with like the smoke from the fires and everything, that'd be tough to play something in that.
Right, and then the hurricanes too, in Florida and other parts of the
Yeah.
Southeast. Even some of the SEC schools well inland, if you have the remnant of the system coming through, still playing in rain, occasional thunder, and 60-mile-an-hour winds is not ideal for those folks. I know one case here where we had a game actually postponed. I think it was the opening game of the 2015 season against, I don't know if it was Western Michigan or who it was. It was a non-conference game. But it was scheduled for a Thursday night, real hot and humid, typical late August day in Champaign, Urbana. And, we started tailgating mid-afternoon. It's Friday. You can't get out much earlier than that, at least if you have a job and your boss is sitting next to you. And about an hour before game time, these storms blew up over Bloomington Normal and started moving down I-74. And I think, college football probably has the best policy of any league for lightning. And can you go into a little detail about what the lightning policy is with Illini home football games?
Yeah, so that was the Kent State game that I believe it was a 7:00 kickoff on a Friday night.
Right.
Thursday or Friday, I can't remember. I think it was Friday.
It was a Friday.
Okay. So lightning strikes, it's an automatic 30-minute delay.
Right. Within 6 miles?
I think that's correct. Yeah. On game day, I think it's 6 miles. So one lightning strike just starts a 30-minute clock. And, obviously the teams have to clear the field. They move the fans inside the halls and everything. And that night we got to like 26, 27 minutes, and then bang, here came another lightning strike. So I think they finally called the game at around 11 and made, that's right. It was a Friday because they came back on Saturday.
Right.
And Illinois won the game, but, the crowd was nowhere near what it was for a Friday night game.
Finally, we get to play some football after a postponement last night with all the thunderstorm activity.
So from the logistics end, what is the most difficult kind of weather to deal with?
It's snow. There's so much stuff that goes on a game day. Like we didn't have the band come out pregame or halftime.
I got to go out on the field once, and I noticed that the artificial turf has these little rubber pellets in it. Does that play a role or make things challenging for snow removal?
Oh, absolutely. You're trying to clear the snow. The first priority is get the game field ready. Now, with field turf, which is what we have them coming in March. They will come in and do a GMAX test is what it's called. They check the firmness. They have 27 spots around the field that they will test. And it's not all just the playing surface, it's outside boundaries and stuff like that. They will check the firmness of the field to see if it's settled. Now, when you move stuff like we had to with heavy equipment, you're picking up a lot of the rubber pellets, which is basically the fill. It's sand and rubber, and it's on top of a asphalt gravel base. So that you need the rubber in there, so you're not getting tackled on a parking lot. So basically, we have them coming back, and they'll have to put in several more tons of rubber to get the field back to where it's playable.
And the field isn't heated, right? Like, I know some of the NFL stadiums are invested in a heated field, but I'm guessing that our field isn't heated.
No, we don't have a heated field. I think Wisconsin, I know they do. Theirs is, they just run theirs with like a glycol system. And it runs the steam line through there, through the glycol. And it's funny because their smokestack comes out of their scoreboard. If you look at their scoreboard, you can see the steam coming out of it.
That's neat.
But
I'll have to look for that next season.
Yeah, getting a heated field, it's really, really expensive. And, like I've been here 10 years and we've only had 2 snow games like that.
Yeah, fortunately, during the time of the Illini season, usually the temperatures here in Champaign, Urbana are quite mild compared to just even Wisconsin or Michigan. So,
right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Even having a game with kickoff temperature near freezing is pretty unusual. I remember another home game against Iowa several years ago. It was like in the low to mid 30s. We had one of those against Purdue. And I mean, just, the tailgating was miserable. And I'm thinking of these NFL fans who go out, with single digit or below 0 wind chills, like in Green Bay or Chicago during the playoffs. And I just couldn't fathom going to a game like that. Kansas City had one. I remember the beer refrigerators on TV were not insulated right. So they actually had to heat you actually had to heat the fridge up to like 35 degrees, and the thing was only designed to cool. So they were pouring the beers and like instantly freezing. They were showing that on TV during the game.
Yeah, I think the Miami Dolphins also froze during that game, as I recall. All right, so Joe Keith is the facilities coordinator of the University of Illinois Athletic Department. We want to thank you for joining us here today.
Oh, it's been a pleasure.
And you're listening to Weather Realness, the podcast about weather and climate. I'm Steve Nesbitt.
And I'm Jeff Frame.
Weather Realness is produced by
Jeff Frame,
Trent Ford,
Steve Nesbitt,
Reginald Hardwick,
and myself, Maddie Stover. Funding for this podcast is partially provided by the Backlund Charitable Trust. Weather Realness is produced by the Department of Climate, Meteorology, and Atmospheric Sciences at the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign and Illinois Public Media. We'll talk with you again next week.